Welcome to The Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Welcome to The Social. We'd like to welcome back to the panel the host of The Social's Mom Life Crisis and the NSL on TSN, Kate McKenna as Harry. Okay, well, let's do this. Actress and entrepreneur Shay Mitchell, she is facing backlash after launching a skincare line for children. You can see she's got these cute little unicorn face masks for kids. It's all for kids ages 3 and up. 3, you heard it, 3 and up. But a lot of people are saying this is unnecessary and sends the wrong message. So, anybody here into this for the kids in your life?
No one.
So interesting, right? I immediately saw this headline and I got angry, and I think for all the same reasons that you did. But then I Googled, should kids have a skincare plan? And I was surprised when it said yes.
Really?
Now, granted, it is just simple things. It's gentle cleanser, moisturizer, and sunscreen. But I thought before puberty that wasn't even necessary. It was the face mask thing, though, that I haven't there's something about that it makes me feel like it's anti-aging. Immediately,
really?
I associate them with that.
For me, it felt like, I get that kids want to mimic their parents, right? We pretend stuff. That's why I had like those Popeye cigarettes, because my parents smoked.
Remember
and
those?
I pretended, right? And pretending to be an adult is what we do. But the face mask part is, it's not pretend. It's an actual face mask. Like, I would be fine if little kids were taking wet paper towels and putting them on their face and like, Mommy, I'm just like you, cutting out little holes. They're playing, they're pretending. It's like a baby doll. We all had baby dolls. We don't give kids real babies.
Does it matter to you at all, though, that this was designed for kids? Like, this is, it's not necessarily an adult face mask, even though the initial photo makes it look a bit adult, which I think sparked the rage. This is designed for children. It is Korean inspired, and they're the pros at face masks. If you're gonna use a face mask, Korean's the way to go. Now look, if you were just to see this image, their masks, they look like animals. So I think it was a bit of a marketing miss to lead with the image they did, which was an adult looking face mask.
Yeah.
Does it matter to you that this is designed for kids? And there are parents out there, Shay Mitchell said when she was looking into this, she had a lot of requests from consumers who said, just like you mentioned, they are interested in products for kids rather than putting their own moisturizer on children. Does it matter to you that this was designed with kids in mind?
Okay, let me start with the caveat. Shay Mitchell is a wonderful Canadian from Toronto. I think she's a lovely human. She has a partner who used to be my coworker, Matt Babel, on CB24 Breakfast. You may know him as Much Music VJ, Matt Babel. He's wonderful. They're probably wonderful
the lady
parents.
does protest too much.
So they are wonderful parents. Their kids look happy and healthy and cared for. I hate this so much.
And
I hate this
going
so
back to her
much.
question, is it precisely because it's marketed towards
To me,
kids?
I take one step back from this. My job as a parent for a daughter especially is to protect her childhood and let her be a kid as long as possible. This, to me, is the adultification of children younger and younger and younger. It's gonna come at them anyway, but the fact that you are actively marketing to them means that A, you're trying to turn a child into a consumer by the age of 3. That's a problem to me. And number 2 is I don't know who said it is necessary. My daughter has a cheap bar of soap. She washes her face and she wears sunscreen. I hope that's what she does until at least puberty.
But has the train already left the station? Like, in terms of marketing towards kids? Like, think about it. Like, even like little things in the grocery store are marketed towards kids. Toys and stuff are marketed towards kids.
That's an age
And then you add,
you're right.
Yeah, it's
and that's the
appropriate.
difference.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, you could make the argument that some kids' cereals are not also very good for them and not maybe age appropriate. But anyway, I think what the other element is that we can't ignore is the social media element. The fact that kids are being marketed to in a different way that didn't exist 10 years ago. Yeah. And so I have, like, my friend's daughter came and was talking about this drunk elephant.
It's expensive
It's
stuff.
a very expensive.
We know it.
So obviously there were influencers who were specifically talking to kids who are around that age and influencing to them. And that to me is this piece that is like so dangerous because the ingredients in some of these things are very harmful. Now, I guess you could make the argument though that Shay was trying to make different ingredients, as you've mentioned. I don't know, I just think like, is there a piece of this that we're missing, like in the sense of like, when I was growing up, I never really saw my mom's skincare routine at all. There was like basically none. So
But do you think that was for better or for worse?
I don't know. I was kind of left like I didn't know what was going on until like late into my teenage years.
Don't you think that's a good thing?
I guess so, maybe, but I wonder, like, I don't know. I just feel for the people who their kids are seeing this and they just think this is a fun way to get involved.
I have to say this. I had terrible skin going through puberty. Terrible skin. This is making kids look at something that they shouldn't even be thinking about at 3 years old, which is my skin. Who cares? Who cares about your skin at 3 years old? You should be playing in the mud and doing the opposite, which is getting very, very dirty.
I guess the problem is nowadays, most kids aren't playing in the mud. And I think about if this is an option for fun, I would rather my kid wear this face mask once in a while than be on a screen. And they're on screens a lot.
Well, I don't know that. I mean, sure, it's a good point, but are those the only two options? I think just because we can do something as parents, should we?
Yeah.
Be a parent and decide that your child should be a child. That's my opinion.
Good convo.
Okay, we're gonna move on to this.
Love you, Shay.
So, would you go and see a movie without knowing what it is? Just surprise. Oh, people are into this. Wow. Well, you'll be happy to hear that Cineplex is launching surprise movie premieres starting next Monday. You can get an advanced screening of an unreleased film at a discount, but you don't find out what you're going to watch until the movie starts. So the company is hoping the move is going to get people back into seats as theaters have continued to struggle to return to pre-pandemic numbers. So, do we think this is the move, or what will bring people back to the theater?
I am floored. I'm floored by this response because I feel like my time is so precious that the idea of committing to something random is just something that I can't do. But I think if you want to get people back to theaters, start throwing watch parties. Do you guys think about sports games?
Yeah.
The way that they filled the Rogers Center when the Jays were in the World Series recently, people want to be part of something. Sports tickets are so expensive. So I think these theaters should be throwing...
together.
Yeah.
Say it again?
We want to be together.
Correct. They want that collective effervescence of being together. So I think if theaters want to attract people, sports games and reality show finales.
Yeah.
But that's not, I love that as well, but it's not solving the question of sort of how do we get people back in the cinema to watch movies. So by that explanation, which I really like, it's kind of like we're saying we're giving up on the movie part, because how many of us really do watch movies? I think the majority of people are watching movies on their phones, on their tablets, and the people who are still going to the movie cinema with a great deal of frequency would rather die than watch a movie on their phone or their tablet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there are fewer and fewer and fewer of them.
I mean, for me, I love going to the theater. I don't do it enough, but part of the reason was when I had a child, and I think this is true for many parents, is it's so much harder and it's so much more expensive. You have to think about the babysitter. Now there's no longer like the one that you can walk down the street, and in most communities. So you have to go to these other places and go to these giant theaters. So my idea is this. I don't know if they're gonna like this idea, but to me, what I feel like these big Cineplex are like is a little bit like a cruise ship. And what cruise ships have, they have childcare. And you have a place where you can drop off your kid. They already have the arcades in many of these places. You hire a few more people to look after them. You have a couple of different age clumps together. The parents are in the cinema watching the movie. If there's a problem with your kid, they can just text you and be like, come grab your annoying kid. But at least then, if you could bake that into the price, I think you would get parents out much more often. Isn't this a good idea? Come on.
You know what? You know what that reminds me of?
Except for the movie lovers who's like, turn off your phone.
Yeah, I get it.
But you know what that reminds me of? One of the last times I went to the movies was years ago, and it was one of those babies and mums screenings.
Oh, that's nice.
Melissa Leong and I took our 6-month-old to see Hustlers.
Appropriate.
By the way, great movie. It's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Something, Cynthia. That's a good idea.
Wow. Okay,
really
you better
good.
trademark that, Cynthia. You just said that on national television.
Yeah, that's fine. Take it.
Who's gonna take that idea? So, a lot of mixed reaction in former Conservative MP Chris D'Entremont's riding after he crossed the floor and joined the Liberal Party, okay? This is all according to CTV News. The Nova Scotia MP says his decision to switch parties came down to two things: serving his constituents better and issues that he's having with Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre's leadership. Okay, is crossing the floor ever okay?
Is anyone interested in another election in a month or so? Yeah, me neither. So the way that I understand this, if a couple more people cross the floor, they'll have the majority to pass the budget, and we won't have another election. So in this particular case, I'm like, 2 more people, please cross the floor. I don't want to vote again.
I mean, I get it from that perspective. I think what I really would like to know is actually how his constituents are feeling. Did he go around? Did he actually hear from them? Did they say the same thing? Because otherwise, like, people voted for a certain party. And so I can see how this would be really, really...
Like a betrayal.
Like a betrayal of some kind, you know what I mean?
I'm also interested in, did he talk to them? And I'm going to assume he did. I'd like to think the best of people, and that he assumed that what was best for his constituents promoted this move. And I actually wish this happened more often.
Yeah.
And because I think politics, we've fallen into parties more than issues. And he has said that the budget was one of the things that moved him in this direction because he felt like the budget was going to help the people in his constituency. So for me, I wish this happened more. I think there are young voters coming up who much prefer people over parties. They're more likely to vote for independence. So I think this is courage of conviction, and I like the idea of doing this instead of just falling in line with the party whip and doing whatever the party says because you are a conservative.
Interesting.
You know,
Good point.
it's interesting because it goes back to Jess's point that the reason why, you know, the party whip, which is the person whose job it is to make sure that enough bums are in seats for votes, those roles actually become really important in a minority government. And the Liberals are in a minority government situation. You will actually, maybe, hopefully avoid elections if the party, I mean, our democracy as this parliamentary situation that we have here, you need people to still align to party lines. Otherwise, you will constantly be facing confidence votes. There's going to constantly be, and I don't want an election. I don't think anybody wants an election. But should we rely on people crossing the floor to avoid the election? Obviously not. In this particular case, I just want to take a little sidestep. D'Entremont, depending on how you translate his last name, I translate it as between two mountains or between a rock and a hard place.
No way!
And
That
he
is so cool!
He is in a rock and a hard place because half of his constituents that have been polled or talked to, at least by CTV News, are saying this is great that he did this. There are the other half of his constituents who've been spoken to who say this is a betrayal. And unfortunately, if you look at history, he is going to pay a price for doing
exactly
this.
it.
And so,
Don't you think that makes it more courageous when, in all likelihood, he's not going to get reelected?
Let's see. I mean, since the 70s, people who have crossed the floor this way usually don't get elected again.
Yeah.
Really?
So let's see what happens.
And people get really upset about this. I mean, I don't know if you remember back when Stephen Harper was prime minister, there was a Liberal named David Emerson who crossed the floor actually just days after winning Vancouver Kingsway. So people were so outraged. It actually triggered an ethics investigation.
Really?
Now, both he and Harper were clear to that. But I think a lot of people, it's true, you end up ruining your own career. So it is courageous. I guess it's that question of is it okay if it's just simply the person who feels like their value system doesn't align any longer with the leader?
But that's the courageous part. Like,
yeah.
that's where it does feel like a scene out of a movie. He's being heroic. Do you know what I mean? But then, if I were one of the people who voted for him and I still felt represented by that party's leader, I'd be like, wait a second, I would feel really aggrieved.
Yeah. I also just love the pettiness of crossing the floor. I know there's all the academic political stuff, but do you guys remember when Belinda Stronach in 2005 crossed? Think about I was rereading it today. She was a prominent conservative dating Peter MacKay, the deputy leader. By all accounts, she goes to his place for dinner. They have a nice dinner. Then she goes and sees Paul Martin, comes back, tells her boyfriend she's going to cross the floor, does it the next day. He goes to his farm with the dog in mourning. Like, this is the stuff of Bravo.
True. Yeah.
I love it.
True.
I love it.
Bravo!
Oh, it's great. Well, let's move on because a husband wrote to Dear Prudence for advice on how to convince his wife that cleaning the kitchen is part of the cooking process. He says she won't clean as she goes and waits until morning to do it 50% of the time. So, should you always, Mel, wash dishes while cooking, or is that a later problem?
Okay, can we just stop? I don't want to talk about dishes just yet. I want to talk about this problematic husband.
Yes! Good face.
I imagine maybe he's a nice guy, but this is not a nice thing that he is saying, because he basically says he comes home, she's got the kitchen in disarray because she's trying to get dinner done, and then she leaves the mess to go put their children to bed, gives them a bath first. Hopefully not with things.
Exactly.
What is he doing? Is he just standing there watching his wife sweat her tush off in the kitchen, taking care of the kids, going to bed, and he has the gall to say, why is the kitchen dirty?
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you.
I don't even care about the dishes. Get rid of him.
This guy's a dud.
Yeah.
The gall.
You're all looking at me.
Yeah.
I'm really good at cleaning up as I go. Some might even say I was gifted at it. I'm excellent at it. But I have to say, for the last little while, Simon's been out of work, so he's truly taken over in the kitchen. I come home, and much to your point, I come home to a homemade meal every single night. Is the kitchen, as clean as it would be if I were making that meal? No. But I kid you not, I'm so grateful that I just come back in and sort of start loading up the dishwasher and smell how good it smells, wipe down a few counters, and we're fine.
Does it bug him that you're doing that as he's still cooking?
Yes. For him, he's like, I was getting to it, but I get a little funny in the kitchen still, even though I'm not cooking dinner. I just like to clean it up.
I want us to challenge this idea, and I know, I saw the reaction in the audience, so I'm gonna say something that's gonna be unpopular, but like, just that you have to clean up everything before you go to bed.
Yep.
There have been many times in my life when, for example, when I'm having a dinner party, I hate it when the host gets up to clean, because then all of a sudden what happens automatically is all the women, generally speaking, also follow her into the kitchen, and then suddenly the whole night is disrupted. For me, I insist when I have a dinner party, no, we're leaving this all, we pile it up, and we deal with it in the morning. So I think we need to challenge this idea of it all having to be so perfect all the time exactly. Also, you're never gonna be able to be in a relationship with anyone who does anything differently. If you, Jess, I'm looking at you a little bit.
I'm looking at
It's
you,
hard.
because you're
You gotta
so
somehow
right.
bend on some of these things.
But the answer, I think everyone is saying the same thing. The answer is
Helping
men
together.
and women in the kitchen. Isn't that the answer?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Keep it simple, stupid. I don't know what else to say.
Clip that. Just have it in our next promo. Keep it simple, stupid. That was great.
It's just math. It's just math. Fed up homeowner in Sydney, Australia listed his condo for sale with a very candid description of the tensions among his feuding neighbors. For example, that was in there. He writes, for example, quote, every time you drive in, you're just getting death stares from everyone. That was in a real estate listing. What do we make of this? And also, how much legwork should you put into knowing about your neighbors, your neighborhood, before you buy?
I mean,
Good question, huh?
generally speaking, I'm here for brutal honesty. I would prefer that to the alternative. But when you're selling a house, you have a lot of money at stake. You can't afford to be brutally honest. Like, I think of a woman in my neighborhood who was selling her house, and I know for a fact she had a horrible relationship with her neighbors. They once called the cops on her. She put up tall trees along the periphery just to block their view in. But when she was selling the house, I said, are you gonna make any mention of the neighbors? And she laughed and said, of course not. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
But I get what she's saying, and I actually think the onus is on the person buying the house to do some investigating on their own. I once had someone come up to my house and say, I'm thinking of buying a home on the street, tell me about the neighborhood. And they ask very pointed questions. You know, what's the GO train going by? What does it sound like? What are the neighbors like? So I think if you're gonna invest in a home, it's on you to explore.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I think you're right, but as we know, the real estate market, sometimes it's a seller's market, sometimes it's a buyer's market. Does that matter? Like, if there's 10 people bidding on one house, are you gonna be honest? You could be, but if there's nobody buying, are you gonna be honest?
I didn't do any investigating when it came to buying. I didn't. I was kind of naive, and I was just kind of like, we need to get into the market, and so we found a place that was, like a relatively, at the time, a good price. This was like 20 years ago now. And if I had done any research, I would have discovered that there were a lot of very weird neighbors, like very, very sketchy, weird, nosy, like all of the kind of stereotypical things. But the thing is having been there so long, they're all gone. So, and now who's moved into their places are actually lovely people. The neighbors on both of our sides, across the street, they're all different. It's had a huge changeover. So I wonder if in some cases, it's actually bad to have too much information, because I would have missed out on a great opportunity. I know I would have. And I've learned to love so many things about that. So sometimes you have to remember, people move. People change, so I don't know. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jess.
Well, I was just going to say, when you mentioned buyers-sellers market, when I moved to Hamilton and was able to get a house there, it was a seller's market. It was a feeding frenzy. 2021, we must have seen 50 houses, and we bid on 11 of them.
Wow.
And we did have criteria, but like I wanted to be able to bike to a GO station and be able to walk or bike to get groceries. So after that, we weren't even paying attention to neighborhoods, really. We're just like, can we afford this? Boom, boom, boom. We now bike by or drive through houses that we did bid on and didn't get, and we feel so grateful because by sheer luck, we hit the most beautiful neighborhood with the best neighbors. So, but that's just luck.
You didn't ask any questions.
Didn't know. Not in that neighborhood. We just because they were going to accept our offer without overbidding. We were just like, yeah, okay, we're done.
Well, I'm so glad you didn't come see my condo. This was going back to the early 2000s, and King West in Toronto is an area where it used to be really, really sketchy, and then it gentrified quickly, and then there were condo projects on every single block. And we were coming in as a young couple, Ryan and I, and it was a seller's market. So we were just like, we'll get anything, and we really wanted the neighborhood. So we bought almost sight unseen. We visited it once.
Wow.
We were living there. And one fine day, we open up, it's first spring there, you open up the door, and I said, what is that smell? It's a slaughterhouse down the street.
Oh my.
And anybody who's watching from the neighborhood knows this was a 100-year-old abattoir in downtown Toronto that predates all of the condos there. So guess what? When we were getting ready to sell, I said, oh my God, what are we gonna do about the slaughterhouse? Nobody's gonna buy. And it was definitely a buyer's market. There was not a lot of action. There were not a lot of buyers out there. So sorry, whoever bought my condo, but we said you can only come and visit and do viewings during a very small window of the day.
Wow.
And I'll tell you why. I know it sounds nasty, but also when they were in full production, it wasn't just smell. You could hear the little piggies.
Oh my God.
It's so bad. But I needed to sell. I'm sorry, I needed to sell my house. I'm sorry.
Just to save you, it's gone now, right? So whomever bought the condo.
See, that goes back to your point.
Exactly. Things change. The neighborhoods change. That abattoir is gone now.
Abattoir is gone.
So it's all fine. It all worked out, guys. It all worked out.
This is why I was vegetarian for so long. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Okay.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.